Morning and Ron, this impeachment conversation continues to get more interesting as we get really a lesson. This has happened in recent memory, but we get more of a lesson on what takes place, especially at the end of a president's term. So Democratic lawmakers in the House of Representatives have introduced this single charge of impeachment. This is against President Donald Trump over the deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol.
And then running parallel to that is this notion that the vice president has 24 hours to decide if he'll invoke the 25th Amendment, which is a different process, which could also lead to the swift end of the presidency before next week. So are there legal challenges to overcome to make this happen? Of course, it seems to be the will of the majority of Democrats in the House. Or are there legal challenges to be had or hurdles? Can the president challenge this? Eric Cedillo has been joining us with all along during this journey during an election season unlike anything we've ever seen, and he's joining us now live from his Dallas office, clinical professor of law at SMU. Eric, good to see you again. When you watch this unfold, of course, you're struck by what we are, and that is this is historic, and that he's the only president to be, Donald Trump, to be impeached twice during a presidency. Aside from that, legally, what are you anticipating?
Well, I think the resolution, of course, this morning in terms of the request of the vice president to invoke the 25th Amendment, doesn't appear that Vice President Pence has the willingness to do that. So there's probably going to be a vote tomorrow on impeachment, and realistically, he'll probably be impeached, and this will move on over to the Senate, and we're probably looking at a senatorial trial after he's already left. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays itself out. But the ramifications for the impeachment process, I think, ultimately are what of concern for a lot of Democrats. His inability to run for office in the future is probably the highlight of why they would want to go through impeachment as opposed to the invocation of simply the 25th Amendment.
And can you kind of explain how this will all look? I mean, we're very close to the end of his term. We're very close to that situation where he will be moving out, right? What happens if he leaves office and the process is very much still continuing? What will that look like?
Well, we'll have basically a Senate controlled by the Democrats. So I think that that trial will look a lot different than the initial impeachment that we saw this past year. So it's a situation where they will probably treat it like a real trial. Bring in evidence, witnesses, and other things, and ultimately vote on it. It's going to take a 2/3 vote, of course, to convict for impeachment. So that might be a tough road to hoe in terms of actually getting the votes necessary to make it happen. But it's one in which I think we'll see more of a lot of the things that we may have already missed or not seen or hadn't been made public in terms of the evidence to support, of course, the incitement for insurrection, which there's a lot of phone calls that may have gone back and forth. There's a lot of other things that we haven't seen. I think those things will ultimately come out, and I'm sure that's a big part of why the Democrats are pushing to make this happen.
Well, there was that one moment that seems to be the most explicit moment, and that is just before the rush on the Capitol was the encouragement to get onto the Capitol grounds. And what strikes me is Rudy Giuliani's specific statement. He said, let's do this trial by combat, and it turned out there was combat. What are his legal ramifications? I understand there's a move underway to perhaps disbar him. That's a separate avenue of sanctions that are separate from the laws of inspiring or inciting an insurrection. Do you think he's going to be facing personally a legal challenge here by the letter of the law?
I think so. I think those are all fair game in terms of what was said and what was done. We see what the actual evidence to support an individual action is all about, but there's also conspiracy. What were they talking about to kind of make this happen? Was it a coordinated effort in that speech to actually have those people go out? If we take everything individually and kind of out of context, there may not be support, but when you bring them all together and say, well, your job is to do this and your job is to do that, then those are the things that we don't currently know about. We don't know the backstory behind those things. So hopefully an investigation will allow us to uncover whether or not and what they knew in terms of pushing those folks. We know they sent them off to the Capitol. Did they expect them to do what they did? I think is the bigger question and the scarier question for our country. Did the president move to have them, attack the Capitol? That's a very scary thought, but one in which hopefully an investigation will get to the bottom of.
All right, Professor Cedillo, thank you so much. He comes to us as a clinical law professor from SMU. Thank you for explaining this in a way that everybody can understand, and we will check back in with him as we continue on, perhaps through this process, as we all work to educate you and ourselves on how this may work.